Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Zenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
I actually have my heart racing right now because I'm about to talk to you about something that's pretty shitty that's happened to me in business recently. And I think it's important to share just to give you a bit of an insight into life of a two-time CEO who, has been doing this for a decade and the life lesson that I'm learning from this experience. So I basically, a day before my birthday, got this letter that was like 6 weeks old that I hadn't physically received in person and opened it. And it was basically someone sending me to court. And basically it's small claims court and it goes to reconciliation first, but basically they're trying to say that what I did was unethical and that I shouldn't be doing what I did. So what happened was this woman signed up to a program and she used the program, she did it, and then turned around and said that, it was a scam. She didn't complete the program and was basically saying that, it was unethical. It was not to fitness standard, but she hadn't actually used much. Like she opened a couple of modules, but had, agreed to go through this program and then turned around sort of like halfway through and was like, well, I'm not paying for this. Now we're pretty lenient when it comes to like helping people out in terms of these things. And basically she just refused to pay for something that she not only agreed to, but had actually done portions of. I got called a scammer. I got called heartless, and a whole bunch of other names. And it shook me. It's shitty and I don't wish this upon anyone else. And I think some of the things that I learned from this is that like hurt people do really hurt people and lash out. And there's obviously things going on in this woman's life that have caused her to turn around and basically blame me for what's going on with her and wanting to, pull out of something that she's already started and is doing. And I think, I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts on this. But one of them is, there are certain things that you have to deal with in business. And this isn't something that I can just ignore because I am legally obliged to show up and submit evidence now. And I think from that I've learned that like the mental energy and the time that this takes and wastes from both parties, I feel is such a waste of everyone's energy that could be going towards creating incredible things or working with other people or doing what is right. And picking your battles, I think, is another thing. And, this is one where I'm just going to do what I have to do legally, but I'm not engaging in any conversation. I'm not engaging in any of these comments. I'm not responding to any of them. But yeah, I think one of my friends said to me, they were like, the price of becoming rich is when you get sued, which I think if it's good enough for Taylor Swift, who's been sued on more than a handful of times, then it's good enough for me. And I try to look at the bright side of these things, but it can be pretty shit when it comes to the fact that you are doing your best to provide people with knowledge, with education, to actually help them, whether it's in exercise and rehab or it's in business coaching or exercise education, whatever it is, you're going out of your way to provide a service to help people. And then not only do they say, what you did didn't help me, when we have like records and evidence of them saying that it was great and it was amazing. But then they also turn around and try and sort of make it your fault. So I'm learning that I need to keep my team of people around me who really love and trust and appreciate me close, and make sure that those voices are drowning out these like few little people who are trying to drag you down when you're trying to, create something for yourself and help others. So that's the life update. On to today's topic. I really want to talk about how I stopped trading time for money as an exercise physiologist. And there's a few things that I stopped doing and a few things that I started doing that amalgamate to create where we're at now. Now, the first thing is that I stopped telling people how much I charge per session or per hour. I think that this is something that's very common in the health industry, and often it's one of the first questions that a client will ask if they're inquiring to work with you. And I actually remember a time when this woman was really, really persistent. This is after I'd stopped telling people how much I charge per session or per hour. And she was super, super persistent. And so I ended up just telling her the dollar figure and realizing afterwards that that wasn't the best approach. And the reason is because people who are asking for a price are window shopping. And I'm not here to help work with people who are looking to have discounts on their health and have more of a focus on how much it will cost them than the outcome that they will get, right? I am not here to sell a Hyundai or a Honda. I'm here to sell a Porsche. And when you're looking in a market where you're providing promises and outcomes and transforming people's lives, I think that it's doing us as health professionals a disservice to say, oh, I'm $90 an hour, I'm $150 an hour, whatever the number is, doesn't really matter. The reason that I think that this has been such a huge shift for me is because when people hear that dollar figure, they instantly judge based on their own assumptions or beliefs of what is expensive or what is cheap. And if you're too cheap, then they might think, oh, well, they're not very good. If you're too expensive, according to their standards and their metrics, then, maybe it's, I don't need everything that's involved in that, or, that's not for me. Equally, some people could think it's quite expensive. That could be awesome. And that's exactly what I need. But when they don't know what's included in that dollar figure, it becomes really hard. Because if I said I'm going to sell you a car and it'll be $100,000, you'd be like, you could think that that's cheap or expensive, but you just don't know, because you don't know if I'm trying to sell you a Lamborghini or if I'm trying to sell you like a Suzuki Swift, right? And so the difference between those, one would be perceived as expensive and one would be perceived as extremely cheap. And so what I started doing to stop trading time for money and having just a very transactional exchange of dollars per hour or dollar per service was speaking to the entire program first. And so what this looks like and what we have inside our program, we talk to, are we right for them? Are they right for us? Can we actually help them? I don't actually go through, the packages or the options with people until I know I can actually help them. And we have definitely, on more than a handful of occasions, turned people away because I didn't believe that we could help them, or they needed to go and get scans from a physio, or we were just not the best fit for them, right? We specialize in musculoskeletal rehab in our rehab business. And so if they're looking for, diabetes education, then that's not the right facility for them to be working with us. And we would be doing them a disservice by taking their money and providing them a poorer quality of service and poorer level of education, because that's not our specialty, than if we sent them somewhere else who does that. So when we speak to the entire program, I've got a few things listed here that we talk to, and you can see on our website as well. So we talk to, yes, you get a weekly one-on-one coaching session with a university qualified professional. Yes, you get individual programming on our Swift app. There are videos of me demonstrating, and it's not just some random on the internet. We actually have spent the time to basically have a coach in your pocket. We also have like regular reassessments. We also have a ton of really quite expensive technology, including like force plates and looking at people's strength left versus right, and actually providing people objective data where with range of motion, with their force, and with their mobility and things like that, so that we can get a whole picture of what's going on with them, and also assess if our program's working, right? A lot of people just go, oh, how do you feel? Or do you look better? Or maybe, you know, they might assess muscle mass and say, oh, well, muscle mass has improved, that's good. We like to get a whole picture and not only assess those things, but also assess how they're actually measurably improving, and add the subjective improvements as well, and make sure that the program we did for the last 6 weeks is improving them. We also have unlimited program revisions. So anytime they need help or assistance or anything's not working, we will jump in and adjust it immediately. We have emergency plans. This is something that has been a little bit of a kept secret that we haven't talked about very often, but basically anyone who comes to us for, let's say, a disc bulge, and they're looking for rehab for that, and they're looking to perform on the back of that and run a marathon or whatever it is, they may be nervous to do some exercises that could be beneficial for them. And so what we do is we say, cool, we need you to, you know, continue to progress and progressive overload. And some of these exercises might feel challenging or whatnot. But what happens is, in case anything, you know, goes wrong, not really in the training, but more so it's going to be in their daily life, right? If they're moving around, or if they slip down the stairs, or they go out for a boogie on Saturday night, and something happens, we have an emergency plan sitting in their app portal that they can jump into immediately. So I remember it was 2 a.m. once, and I was out dancing and I slipped and landed on my coccyx, on my tailbone, and I was in so much pain. And had I been able to contact or have a plan or a program in place from a professional to know exactly what to do in that moment, and had the ability to do that at 2 a.m. when I was in excruciating pain, rather than having to wait, I think it was a Saturday, so wait until Monday to potentially see a physio or someone to get that support, that would have been game changing for me. Also, we have 24/7 coach access. So that is through an app. We submit videos and all these sorts of things. So when you look at this, there is so much more included than just one 45-minute coaching session a week. And we also promise results, and we have guarantees that if we don't improve people, that we'll let them sort of walk away from the rest of their program commitment, because we don't think that's fair if they're working with someone and not getting a result. And that also gives us skin in the game to make sure that we're getting results with clients, right? So to recap, I stopped telling people how much I charge per session or per hour, and I started speaking to all of the inclusions. Now, this is great if we make sure that we speak to the outcomes beforehand. So if you speak to all the T's and C's and everything that's included in the program, but you haven't spoken about the outcomes that you get that person, then it's not really going to matter. So if we go back to a car analogy, if the outcome is I want to go four-wheel driving, and you try to sell me a Porsche, it doesn't matter that it's great and it's really fast and it's, you know, really zippy and looks sexy, because that's not the outcome that I'm looking for. So when we talk about this, before going through all the inclusions and the T's and C's in your package, talking to the outcomes. So if someone is in shoulder pain and they want to become an Olympic weightlifter, we're talking to the outcomes of a pain-free shoulder, clean and jerking, you know, their body weight overhead, pain-free, being able to stand on the podium at their local Olympic lifting event and feel proud that they put in the hard work. Those are the outcomes that we can visualize and actually see for that person. And that matters more than what the inputs are, or how many sessions they have, or when they need to come into the facility. Those are all the logistics. And yes, they matter. But if we're not on the same path with what outcome we're getting a client, and I think a lot of people get this like to level 1, but not level 5 depth. So people are like, what are you here for? And someone will say, to to get my shoulder pain free, like my shoulder's in pain, and they go, awesome, and they move on, as opposed to like, why is pain-free shoulder important for you? What do you want to do once your shoulder is pain-free? And helping paint a vision of their future and what their transformation looks like. So most people don't just want a pain-free shoulder. They also want to either do the Olympic weightlifting, or they want to throw their kids in the air, or they want to, be able to put their washing on the line pain-free, or they want to be able to go for, rock climbing with their friends, right? So it's typically more than just being pain-free, and we need to dig deeper, continue to ask why it's important for them, because we sometimes think like, yeah, it makes sense to be pain-free, like that's obvious. But why is it important to them? And digging really deep on this, the Simon Sinek ask why 5 times, I think is really helpful. It sounds really silly and a bit awkward when you're saying it to a client and you're like, why do you want to be pain-free? And they're like, because pain sucks. And you're like, yeah, okay. And just diving into that more is going to give you more a better understanding of what they're actually chasing. So you can align your programming, you can align everything you're doing with the outcome that they want, not step 1 of the process, which is perhaps a pain-free shoulder, or even just management of pain, right? Some people can't see beyond their pain. And so it's our job as a coach to help paint that vision for them. So I focused on the outcomes. What I swapped that out for was focusing on what I do. I see so many clients of mine in our Biz Academy program, and this first thing that they say is, I'm an exercise physiologist, or I'm a personal trainer, or I'm a mindset coach. And when we focus on what we do, yes, it can be helpful to we do want to have people understand and identify us with a certain group, but it shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be the result or the outcome. So we did this thing the other week in our biz mentoring calls with our group, where I got everyone to get up their Instagram bios and we adjusted these. So most people, it would say like strength and conditioning coach, like training, nutrition, exercise, like learn more. That's generally the bio, right? And we changed it to, firstly, like, yes, you want an identifier of what you do, but the most important thing is a result that you get. Now, the result that I get with our business mentees and our business students is we add 100K to health and wellness businesses in 12 months, right? Very, very clear. And I care more about that than like someone's title, right? I don't care how many degrees they have. I don't care, what their qualifications are, who they trained under, how many letters are on the end of their name. I care about the result that they can get for me. And sure, there's going to be a reason to have dietitian written in, your identifier in your Instagram bio or wherever, right? So people are like, okay, qualified, they'll be able to help me. They have the scope of practice. But people actually care far more about the outcome first. And so instead of like, half the people don't even know what an exercise physiologist is. So when I'm telling people I'm an exercise physiologist, they're like, what? And then even if I say it's kind of a blend between a PT and a physio, it's like, well, what does that matter to someone unless they understand what I can do for them? And what I can do for them as an exercise physiologist is get people pain-free, is get people performing their best, is get people to live a life they love unrestricted. And so when we talk to that as our result or our outcome, we are going to draw in people quicker rather than exercise physiologist or strength coach, right? And we also want to niche down. We don't want to help every single human. And very side topic, probably for a whole other episode, but niching down very briefly is going to be an incredibly, incredibly powerful tool to help people quickly understand if you are the coach for them or not. And that's a good thing. We want people to be a heck yes or a heck no, right? We want people to be really on board or to be like, this isn't for me. And that's going to draw and attract your ideal clients to you faster and repel people who are not good for you. Like I said before, the diabetes client, right? Not great for us. So I don't want to have anything that says we are for everybody because we have someone who has diabetes who comes in and we're not the best facility for you, right? And so it's a waste of everyone's time to have to go through all that process because they couldn't articulate and identify themselves based on your Instagram bio or the first headline in your website or whenever you talk to people as to what you do. Cool. So just recapping that one, I stopped focusing on what I do, i.e. my profession, my title, and had a greater emphasis on the outcomes that we get for clients. The third thing that I stopped doing to stop trading time for money as an exercise physiologist is I stopped thinking about the short term. And when I was working in what's now a Good Life, it used to be called Go Health Clubs, I was trying to get clients to just work with me for like one session at a time. And it was session by session. And every single session, I was like, I don't know if they're coming back next week. And it was stressful for me because not only was I worried about like the financial state of next week for me and just had no control over that and no sort of consistency, but it was also like, how do I program to rehab someone like one session at a time, rather than like, if I know I have 6 months with someone, I know these are the things we need to go through to get a really rock solid shoulder for them and plan for their performance moving forward. So that's what I stopped doing. Stopped thinking about this short term, where my next money dollars were coming from, and just getting clients session by session and 1 week at a time. What I started doing is creating boundaries and clarity on the long-term vision of my business and clarity on what we care about. And results and reputation is huge for us. And so when I look at this and I go, well, if someone does one session with me, are they going to be able to get a great result with exercise physiology? The answer is no, right? I know that I cannot give someone, and I used to try and do this, I used to try and give them everything in session one and be like, all the education and all the program, and this is how you'd progress it. And they're like so overwhelmed that they probably A, didn't even complete the program, but B, like were potentially bastardizing the program into how they were executing it, and they were confused, and confused people are less likely to execute on the things that we give them. So I got really, really clear on what is important for me, for Swift Movement Academy as a brand, our reputation, our standards, what we stand for, what we stand against. And I started sticking to that. So we still do have clients who ask us how much we are per session, who want to do a couple of sessions with us or super sporadic ad hoc training. And I say to them, hey, look, I actually don't think we're a good fit for you. We can get incredible results with people. And I've actually tried the session by session model before. And what I found is it's not going to be able to guarantee you the results that you're after. So if you're ready to commit and get some incredible results, then we can absolutely work together and do that. But it's going to take a commitment from you to be doing this once a week for at least 12 weeks. And if they weren't down for that, I let them walk away, because it's only going to put a bad taste in their mouth if they do 1 or 2 sessions, they don't get the outcome that they want, and they thought they could potentially get it in 2 sessions, and I wasn't upfront with that. And so for me, that's really, really important, making sure that I'm clear on the reputation, the long-term goals, and we get great results with those people who are very ready and willing to commit to get those incredible results too. The last thing that I stopped doing, and this is probably ties into the last one I spoke about, but I stopped trying to work with anyone with a pulse, which talks into like the niching down as well. And I started getting clear on who we serve. So I mentioned before, it's musculoskeletal rehab is our primary area. And then even within that, there are certain things that, you know, if it comes to intricacies with the foot or the wrist or certain joints that we haven't dealt with and not comfortable with, I got clear on who we will accept and who we won't accept into our program. And what that has helped us do is narrow our focus and get really clear on how to serve the people that we are serving better. Because if we're trying to be the bodybuilding coach and at the same time be the weight loss coach and be the pregnancy coach, then we're spreading ourselves so thin in terms of being a practitioner, because you have to upskill and educate yourself on all of those areas. And how deep can you truly go in pregnancy if You have 20 other categories of people that you could choose to work with as well. And how much better of a result would your clients get if all of them were pregnancy or pre or postpartum, and that was your sole focus? And so all of your development, all of your upskilling, all of your education could be surrounding that condition. You would help those people so much more. You could charge more for that. The clients would get better outcomes as a result of that. And so it's a win-win for everyone. So just to recap, the 4 things that I did to stop trading time for money as an exercise physiologist is that I stopped telling people how much I charge, and I started speaking to the entire program. I stopped focusing on what I do, and I started focusing on the outcomes that we get. I stopped thinking about the short term and started setting boundaries and creating clarity on the long term of the business goals, the business reputation. And finally, my screen just went black. I was like, no. Finally, I stopped trying to work with anyone with a pulse, and I started getting clear on who we serve. Hopefully that has helped you today. And I actually wanted to offer a sneaky little freebie for the first 2 people who DM me on Instagram for a free complete biz audit. So this is eligible to anyone who is not a current Biz Academy student. This audit is worth at least $999, and it's just for 2 podcast listeners. So I'm not posting this anywhere else. This will be exclusive for 2 people saying, I came from the podcast, I'm looking for a free biz audit. What that will include is of your Instagram. We talked about how to craft your Instagram briefly today. I will specifically give you a ton of clarity on what your Instagram bio is like, because that is like your storefront. That is like the first thing that people see most of the time. That's where they're going. That's what they're looking for. You need to get really clear on your promise and your social proof and what you do in your bio. Also going to give you a full website audit. This is freaking huge, and I actually haven't offered this before. On top of that, I have an incredible biz audit form that we give all of our initial biz students who join up with us to get like a full understanding of their entire business, what they're serving, how many leads they're getting, automations that they have, systems that they've created, and also the gaps in all of those areas. So we can have a look at financial goals, projections, and create a full mapped plan for the next 12 months. If this is something that you think you would benefit from, then please DM me at Zenia Wood Official on Instagram. First 2 people who say they want a free biz audit and they came from the podcast, that is going to be personally with me giving you all of this incredible feedback. So that is my way of sharing the love today and giving back to the guys who listen to me ramble each and every week. I really appreciate you. So thank you. And I am looking forward to your name in my DMs. Until next episode, move swiftly.
I have a tiny favor to ask of you, and that is to just hit that subscribe button if you have not done it yet. If you've made it this far, then I hope that this has been valuable for you and for us to get more incredible guests in front of your earlobes and faces. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please do that now. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for me, or something that was a golden nugget that really stood out to you in this episode, I would absolutely love if you flicked me a message over on Instagram at Zenia Wood Official. Until next episode, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.